Hello, everybody. Let me say hello to my friends today who are on. A few people on. We got 14 people on, 17 people on. That's pretty cool. Happy to see that. Let me give a shout out to Matt. Hi, Mark. Hope you're doing okay being stuck in a house. I am. Nemo Unknown, good to see you this morning. Mr. Thomas V. I wonder if Mark will serve lunch along with the lesson. Virtual lunch is on me. Mark Siebes, good afternoon to you. Ron Shack, hey. And Mark Siebes asks how many of you have a guitar in your hands right now. I do, and it's plugged in. I don't, actually, which is kind of interesting. If somebody could let me know if they can hear everything okay, that would be fab. And we'll get to the live stream going. I can see how many. Oh, lots of people on today. We got 30 people on right now. Whoops, now down to 22. I think that the YouTube counter is wrong. I think there are problems with it. All right. Hey, Peter. Peter's on. Yeah, Peter, I'm not surprised that you're on today with the Frampton stuff coming alive today. All right. Jay Fender's on. Bob Schumann, hello to you. All right, Matt can hear me. Sounds good. All right. Well, before we get into anything else, I just want to thank everybody who signed up and enrolled for Phil Roberts and I, our Rock Guitar 1970s Volume 1. It's much, much appreciated. Ton of work went into that. And feedback's really good. So if you haven't checked it out, I did put a link down below. You can check that out. And sign up if you like to. Okay. Looks like Frank is on. Ozman5151. Good to see you. No real estate work to do for Pete today. That's good. ML, good morning to you. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who did that, who checked it out, and really interested in all sorts of comments, what we'll do next. Either the same thing or, other songs from the decade. Maybe mix them up over years, or maybe even do some other things. And everything's open for suggestion. Oh yeah, and I wanted to thank Dan McGee. He is the lucky winner of 3 guitar lessons from yours truly, and a witty pilot who won a year's supply of Ernie Ball strings. So good on you. Those are coming out pretty soon. MN Blues, good to see you. Scott Taylor, good to see you. BRP, 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 hello to you. Frampton, I thought it was a Priest solo. Do you feel like it should be doing? I feel like we do, I guess. I got that wrong. Pete Graham, hello. Hi, Pete from Connecticut. Good to see you. Jeff McManus, always good to see you on. Ed, good morning to you from the West Coast. Also, I want to thank everybody for giving the donations. Who gave this last couple of weeks. It's, again, much appreciated, and there were a lot of them. There were an inordinate number, so that's good. 99 SFIC, hello to you. Hey, Embry. And one person actually bought the t-shirt, which is cool. So if you like this, if you want to be in the gang and tell everybody about it, you're going to get the t-shirt. That's the first t-shirt sale I ever got, so I'm not expecting much. That's just if you like it. All right, let's get on with some Frampton. Hopefully you can hear that okay. Let's see if we can put a little modulation on this. Maybe I'll put a little univibe on. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. All right, let's see if we can get it. All right. So we'll do the demo first, and then we'll do the demo first, and then we'll talk a little bit about how to handle this and how to play around with it and so forth. Hopefully I won't mess this up too much. Let's see. All right, enough. Sorry, man. Got too carried away with that one. I just absolutely love that solo. So, whew. One of the best solos of all time. Let me take some of the garbage off of it. I was a little bit bothered by the univibe, actually. So, cool. So let's see what we're on. See if we've got any comments. Let's take a look at it. Oops. And see if I can catch up on some comments before we get going on this one. Ron Shack, thank you. Thank you for signing up. Appreciate that. Alejandro Rodriguez, hey, good morning from Mexico. Good morning to you as well. What string gauge am I using, says Mark Steves. This is a on my 25, just so everybody knows, on my 25.5-inch scale guitars, my Fenders, I do use extra lights. I use 9s to 42, and on my Gibsons I use just regular lights. So 10s to I think 46 or 48. I'm not sure. On my PRS, which are kind of halfway in between, I sometimes use hybrid lights and sometimes I use extra lights. So right now I think these are extra lights on here. So 9 to 42. How's everyone doing with COVID-19? We'll get to that in a second. Doing well, Frank. Okay. Amazon for fireflies. Everybody looking at that. All right. Thanks, Peter. Appreciate it. Peter Aragno, or I don't know how to pronounce your last name, Pete. Aragno is Frampton aficionado. So that's high praise coming from that. All right. So let's talk. I could have kept going. Yeah, I don't, Pete Graham, I don't have the voice thingy, the talk box. I don't have that. I do have a little thing that emulates something a little bit, but I was just using a univibe sound on that instead of the Leslie or a heavy chorus. So that's what I was doing on that. Let's see. So let's talk a little bit about what the progression is and what you can do and how you can handle that. So let's, to do that, I'm going to turn off all the distortion and stuff. It's kind of loud. Yeah, it's kind of loud. So here we go. So the progression is actually pretty straightforward, but it is interesting because it goes from it allows you to play lots of different things. So the progression is kind of like this. It goes from a D. This is basically the end to Do You Feel Like We Do, right? So it basically goes from a D to an F. Let me play it normally. So here's a D to an F to a C back to a D, and then it's got this A, C, and D sort of thing going on in there where it repeats. So what's interesting about it is that first of all, you should realize that if you just play sort of a D minor pentatonic over it, it sounds good throughout the whole thing. And it's sort of the beauty of the minor pentatonic or pentatonic scales is that they avoid the thirds, and so you don't have to, at least the major thirds, and so you don't have to worry and the sevenths, so that you don't have to worry so much about those notes. Everything sounds okay. So when you're playing things like this, all that's going to sound good. And so you can always kind of come back to it, which is good. So that's the number one. That's the first thing that you ought to think of when approaching a solo like this, with the chord changes from D to F to C. So I'm thinking, something in D first. All right, so the first thing is like a D major or D seventh, right? So over that, you can also think modally. So if we do that, if we're playing over a D, we can usually think D mixolydian. That usually works pretty well in rock and blues. And to do that, that's D mixolydian is the same as the G major scale. So it just starts from D to D. So it would be like this. And it gets in that flatted seventh. which is a C, right? And that fits with the rest of the chords too. It fits with C and it fits with F. So that note C is a good note, is a really good note if you're playing this sort of thing. So all right, so if we're playing in the G major scale, that works over the D chord. Now the only thing is, if you're going to do that, when you go to the F chord, you can see immediately like F is kind of like a D minor 7, isn't it? So F and D minor 7 are highly related. So if you're going to play that, if you're going to have problems with the third of the D, with that F sharp. So emphasizing that difference between the F and the F sharp is actually a big deal in this song, and if you're soloing. So if you want to sound occasionally like you know what you're doing, you can emphasize that when you play the D chord to play that F sharp, and when you play the F chord or the C chord, you play the F, but especially on that F chord, right? So that's why I could come up with things like this. So that's over the D, and over the F, I'll just slide this note down to here, which is an F, in fact. And then the C, here's the third of C. And back to the third of D. So it's pretty cool. You know, if you're a pure modal player, you'd think over the D chord, I'm going to play a D mixolydian. Over the F, which is very similar to a D minor 7, I'm going to play a D Dorian. And then over the C, I can keep playing a D Dorian because D minor is a chord that's in there. So that's another approach, is that you can, a purely modal approach would be that, but even over that main D, you can kind of skip that and just play all in the D Dorian if you want. D Dorian being the same as C major scale. So that's another way of thinking about it, is that over the D chord, I play a G major scale, and over all the other chords, I play a C major scale. And that works out pretty well. Let me show you. I'll see if I can show you with this. And I'll just play something very simple, going from a G major scale to a C major scale, and I'll show you. Catch it this time around. Okay, here's a D major. So it's not as cool playing stuff like that, and you got to put in some bends. But if you do that, you just think C major, G major, maybe that'll work for you as well. So that's another way of playing it. And then a third way of really playing it, which I really love, is to play arpeggios. And you can certainly hear Frampton, or partial arpeggios, and you can certainly hear Frampton doing that a lot. Like obviously on that end part, but you know, you can hear him doing this. You know, and that's just all arpeggio stuff, and it works pretty well. And you can play them straight like that on those strings, or you can play those two-note arpeggios, which I was trying to do somewhat unsuccessfully, but you know, here's a D arpeggio, starting with, here's the root right here, so I'm going to play the fifth, the third, and the root. And then over the F, just play this. And then over the C. And back to the D. And that sounds pretty good. And you can even take like a particular scale, shape, like this scale shape right here, which is for the C major, and just kind of play that. So in the beginning one, we'll play something that's a D. That's actually a D7, but go to the F. Now C. And back to the D. Or all that kind of stuff is going to work pretty well. And yeah, and that's it. So, you know, it's a really fun solo to play a lot. So I just dig playing over this one and improvising it, because you can play it straight. You can play just a straight minor pentatonic. Sounds great. And you can play lots of other things that are pretty cool. And it's not that difficult, because there's just a couple of things, despite the fact I was clearly messing up a lot during that solo. But anyway, and you know, you can really hear the switching of the scales. One more thing. I sound like Columbo. I've been watching Columbo lately. I'll try and do this here. So when he goes to the octaves like this, notice that he's going down on one scale and coming back up on a slightly different one. So he goes down on the G major scale, which is the D mixolydian, same notes. I'll just play the top note here. Now coming back up in the D Dorian, or the C major scale. That's a really cool effect, I think, and really emphasizes that one note. Anyway, it's so cool. And I just love that that construction. It's just one of my all-time favorite solos. So yeah, great stuff, great stuff. All right, maybe I should do the solo at some point, but the thing that always stops me is that talk box thing. Everybody always wants the talk box thing. I'm not that into that part. I mean, it's really cool. I guess I should say I'm not that into it. I like listening to it. I never had the hankering to play it. So that's it. Let's see if there's any questions. How does D minor work over the D major? Asking for a friend. It doesn't. You can play the D minor pentatonic over that D chord, and it sounds okay, just because you're playing some other bluesy chords. So because we're playing a D to an F, but then also a C, that flatted seventh of the D is a strong note. So it's the thing to look out for is that third. You don't want to play that third. You just kind of skip it, and you probably should look out for the F on that one. So as long as you're not playing Fs all over the place over that D major, it sounds okay. And in fact, you can even play that F as long as you don't play it as a note you land on. It's okay. Oops, I'm sorry. It's okay to play it. You can even, Frampton even played it in the opening lines, right? But notice he's not staying on it. Something like that. Can I do the solo without the talk box, please? Yeah, I can do that one. He's got two solos in there. The first solo that he does, or the middle solo, that's one of my favorite solos of all time. I just love, I don't know what it is about that one, but I just really love that solo, that middle one. Thanks, Embry. Appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate that. You should show the G major scale. Okay, so I'll show the G major scale. So, you know, we haven't talked too much caged or anything like that, but the G major scale, let's do the, you know what I like to do, you know what's a good exercise, is to pick a position and play the scales that you're learning, or that you're going to play over in that same position. Now, you saw me moving all over, and I like to move all over, and that's also helpful, but let's take this one. So in this one, suppose we were going to play everything here. We're going to play like this. Right? Something like that. It's all in this position. I tried to play it all in this position. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can learn the scales. In this case, D Dorian, which is C major, and D Mixolydian, which is G major, and you can just learn them here. So, if we start out from the root, let's learn G major first. If we're starting out from the root, here's the root right here, 4th string, 5th fret. That's a G, and we're just going to play up to another G, which is right here. Let me take off the reverb and the delay. And you can have that burned into your head, right? But if we're playing from the D, and we'll play the same notes, so that's a G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. So if we continue that up, we have, so that's right, so that's A, B, and C. F sharp, E, there we go, B, I'm sorry, D, C, B, and A, and if we want to go to the roots right there. So the pattern is basically this. Right? And this is a key note. This is an F sharp right here, and here's an F sharp right here. So those are both really key notes because it's the F sharp that differentiates that from the C major scale. Now if we learn the C major scale here, we have C, B, A, okay, and then going down we've got G, F, E, D, and C. So, and let's continue. We've got B, A, G, F, E, D, and C. So the main difference is this right here and this. That's the difference between the G major and the C major. So you can play things like that. Once you know the scale patterns, you can play things like, right? And then if you're going to play through those chords. It's all good, right? And you can play the same thing here. Or something like that. Anyway, just something to play around with. And then you can do that all over the fretboard if you want and learn the different ones and get it there. And what I think is also helpful is to confine yourself to a position. I think there's a lot of power in that. Confine yourself to a position, learn the chords, find the chords as close as you can to that, and that just really helps you. You'll probably discover other chord shapes that you didn't know. Like for example, like this chord shape for a C. That's an inversion of a C triad. So right, that works. Or how about here? I'm sorry. And there's our D, F, C, and D. Right? So you can learn, the G major scale here. And the C major scale from here too. All right, anyway, lots of fun to play around with this one. And it's triads, dyads, there you go. All good. It's a simple way to play for us, for people who don't have forever to learn all about this stuff, you know, like us, working stiffs like us. All right. So, you know, I don't aim camera down a little bit, maybe. Oh, okay, sorry. I was trying to do it a little bit. I was hoping to get some of that. Sorry about that. I was doing it for the solo. Okay. Oh, hey, Dan. Hey, Dan McGee. Congrats on. I'll move back up here. Congrats on winning the lessons. Let's see. STK BKR. Good morning, brother, to you. And Jake Diamond. Sorry I didn't name that camera down a little bit. I'm notorious for doing that, so apologize for that. Let's see. Dan McGee. Mark, where did I get the backing track? Oh, secret backing track. Yeah. I bought it. I just Googled. If you Google guitar backing tracks, do you feel like we do? It'll come up. You gotta pay for it though. Sorry. Or you can email me. All right. Yeah, so Dan, you have to tell me what... Oh yeah, I am wearing the shirt that I offer. So Phil, you missed my pitches at the beginning. So yeah, I am wearing the shirt. So let me show that. You can be in the gang. I have to update it and put, you know, a little cartoon guy with a beard now, I guess. But that's about it. Like I say, I've had a grand total of 1 sale for that one. So it hasn't been the huge moneymaker that everybody told me it was. Get your merch going. No, seriously, man. Who needs another T-shirt? If you don't need another T-shirt, don't get it. But I don't know. I kind of like it actually. My daughter did this a couple years ago, so I liked it. All right. Let's see. Sign them. Oh, I could sign them, but then I'd have to order them first, Phil. Then I'd have to stockpile them. They charge me to order them, just so you know. But I would be happy to sign them. If you let me know, I'd be happy to sign. All right. Let's see. So I don't have anything else for today. What are some other songs? You know, this is one of the greatest, I think. This is a great song because it still rocks really hard, and yet it's got some subtlety in it, but not too much, you know? And to me, it's like perfect for this sort of thing where we can talk about improv, and it's not like total simple, you know, hey, let's just play some blues licks. Let me show you one more thing that you can play around with, and you may or may not know about this. But it is a fun scale. You know me, I'm not a scale guy anymore. I used to be a long time ago. I used to be into modes and scales, and that's probably why I know a little bit about them. And I'm going to try and do Jake Diamond, listen to his comment here and show this down. But, you know, I learned this as the Hindu pentatonic scale, but it's really sort of a Mixolydian pentatonic, and it's kind of cool. So if we're playing in D... If you can hear that, it's kind of loud, isn't it? Turn that down. Yeah, I'll turn it down a little bit. That's better. So you can play a pentatonic that's kind of like a Mixolydian. It kind of sounds like this. Let me try this again. That's a cool thing to play around with. You don't have to know the scale particularly, but something like that works really well on this, and it's just a fun thing to play around with. You can learn it in different positions. Yeah, and it gets you kind of out of just playing blues licks. You can play blues licks and they sound great, you know. But just by playing something that goes to the end, by playing the... And that works. Anyway, it's really easy stuff to play, and if you don't know that Mixolydian pentatonic scale. That's a fun one to play around with if you'd like to. I can even do a lesson on it someday. But anyway, we all love pentatonics, so they sound great, you know. All right. Let's see. UFO Doctor Doctor. Oh, Doctor Doctor. I like that one. Yeah, that is a good one. Doctor Doctor. Embry's picking all the easy ones. Oh, let's see. Oh yeah. Oh, Peter's selling his hot rod DeVille, huh? With 212s. Mother's Daughter. I don't know that one. Savvy Symbiont. Oh, that's Santana? I don't know that one. Not one of their most popular ones, I guess. I mean, you know, the one that would be really cool, and I love doing it, a lot of people have done it, is, what's that incredible guitar one? I'm trying to think of, Europa. It's by Santana. That's such a beautiful, beautiful song. And that also involves some key changes that are really simple. Dickie Betts hexatonic scale. Oh, yeah. So what's the sixth tone? I can't remember. It's probably the seventh in there. So when you're playing the major, it's okay, and you put that in. I don't remember. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Ed, but I promise I'll put that on my list. Okay. You know, I got to do a Dickie Betts lesson. So I will put that on there. I haven't played Dickie in a long time, but yeah. Frampton's Off the Hook. Samba Pati is also great. Yep. Yeah. Santana, so much great stuff. So much great stuff. You know, Evil Ways, not to drill this too much, but Evil Ways. Phil teaches Evil Ways, and he gives you all the theory on that in our Rock Guitar 1970 course. It's pretty. He went really in depth on it. Mark Sieb says, I really liked your Late for the Sky lesson. David Lindley's master of tone and feel. David Lindley really is a master. His feel is just unreal on the instrument, and he just has the fingers are just so much touch. Saturday Night Special, Blue Sky. Okay, yeah, we'll do Blue Sky. We'll do Blue Sky. Of course, you know, anybody who wants to do Blue Sky, it's sort of like, do you feel like we do, note for note. It's one of those things, you know, Frampton, if you listen to multiples of his, you know, they're all different. They're all different. And so I think, you know, to do something like that note for note, it's helpful, but you shouldn't think that when you get up on stage and play it or whatever that you have to play note for note. It's nice if you're learning Frampton or something like that. So I don't know. And I feel the same way with Dwayne, and I feel the same way with Dickie. They were always so improvisational that, you know, I like to sort of at least leave it somewhat that way. But yeah, I could do parts of Blue Sky for sure. And then somebody says Saturday Night Special. Saturday Night Special is on my list for doing, Frank. But I have to tell you, it may go into the next installment of rock songs from the things that Phil Roberts and I do. Saturday Night Special. But I love that one. That's probably my favorite Skynyrd song is Saturday Night Special. I love that one. I like it more than the fave ones. I love Tuesday's Gone too. That's another one of my favorites. I just love Tuesday's Gone. Ian Moore, Blue Sky. Ian Moore. Who's that, Embry? I never heard of him. That's great, Mark, that you worked it out. That you worked out both the solos to Blue Sky. That's incredible. Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah. All right. So not Freebird. I like Freebird. I'm one of those guys who actually likes Freebird. I don't know. I think TBA and Garrett aren't on today. Either I pissed them off or they didn't know about it. But but uh, I've been on a Bob Seger. I was reminded that TBA hates Bob Seger, so I've been on a Bob Seger kick lately. I don't know why. Maybe it just reminds me of my youth. And I've really been enjoying listening to Drew Abbott's play. It's not anything complicated. It's just really, really good, just really, really good rock and roll. And I just dig it. He comes up with some really nice little nice stock lines. Synod is tweaking me. Skinnerd. Uh, I Know a Little is a great tune. I like I Know a Little. I mean, I Know a Little is kind of like it just uses that Woody Woodpecker lick over and over and over and over and super fast. I dig it. Yeah, it's fun. Somebody else said Jessica for the Allman Brothers. Yeah, I mean, hard to beat that one. I think the only thing I don't like about Jessica personally is I think the piano solo goes on too long in that. But I love how the guitar solo comes in after that, and of course the opening is just so perfect. And the band is so tight. The band is so tight. Oh, Rock Around the Clock. Darn it, Phil. You got to keep reminding me that. Because I love that song and I got to do it. Yeah. Yeah. Dwayne Bailey. Steve Gaines. Yeah, I agree. I agree, Frank. Steve Gaines was an incredible player. Really sad that lost him. I did the solos on some of the Linda Ronstadt records. Fun to sound good at the intermediate level. Wadi Wachtel. Yes, Jake. So I actually have a little bit of analysis of It's So Easy in a recorded video I'm going to publish in just a bit, but I don't really go over it too much. But Wadi Wachtel was a great player. And you're right, it's not that complex. So I should probably think of doing some of those. Or, it's the same sort of people. It was like Andrew Gold, Wadi Wachtel, Linda Ronstadt, a couple of other people. Wadi Wachtel played on a lot of that stuff. And it's not difficult. Warren Zevon was the other guy I was thinking. Jake, I did Warren Zevon, Johnny Strikes Up the Band, which is Wadi Wachtel. That's a good one. That's a good intermediate level solo. It's a really good one. Wadi had a great feel for picking out really good notes. Agreed. Jim Carana says Ian Moore is a Texas guitar player from the School of SRV, and Chris Duarte does a great version of Champagne and Reefer. Okay, I will check it out. I heard another guy this morning. I can't remember his name, but he was Canadian, Collins or something like that, who was really good. Kind of in a sort of style like that. One Way Out. Yeah, can't beat that. I'm not going to pretend I can play that slide. I have to say to everybody, my Fender Strat, the actual Fender Strat, not the one that I love, the red one, which is a CP Thornton Strat, but the one that I like and was getting to really like, the neck is really warped and it just plays like crap now. So I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know if I'm going to fix the neck, or maybe I just convert it to slide, jack the action way up and play slide on it or something like that. Use it to learn slide. Really disappointed. I just can't play that guitar anymore. The winter really did a number on it. So, and I kept it humidified and everything. It was just, I just can't dial it in. It's a bummer. I'm still going to keep trying. I may end up refretting it and doing that, but we'll see. I'm just not that into Strats. Maybe if I were, I would get it refretted. Not was, still is. Steve Gaines. Well, Steve Gaines was. He's dead. He can't play that well anymore. But his music lives on, which is good. It would have been great if he could have lived to have left more music. Wadi is your friend's cousin. Oh, okay. I see, about Wadi. That's neat. That's neat. Elizabeth Reed. All right, yeah. Yeah, Siebes, I might get a new neck, but you know, yeah, I might. I might do that. Get a Warmoth. Get it to my specs. I got a 12-inch radius, and yeah, same thinness. Yeah, I got it, Frank. Sorry about that. I got that you were referring to Waddy. Took me a while. Sorry about that. Yeah, ML. I think maybe a Warmoth neck. I don't know. I'll get it. The reason why I wouldn't get a new neck is because I know a guy who is incredible at doing refrets here in town, and he needs the money, and he can put in stainless steel frets for me. He'll give me a good deal, and it'll play unbelievably, and it'll be the same neck that it is right now. So the only thing is, it'll probably cost me $400. When will I be loved? Yeah, good one. Good one. Yeah, I'll do some of that. I'll do some Waddy. I'll do some more of it. No good luthier used to work at Manny's. Oh, okay. Yeah, the guy that I know right here, he's a good friend of mine. He's the guy I played Django with. He's really good at that stuff. And yeah, he's really good at playing Django, but anyway, he's doing construction now because he can't make enough money doing guitar work. And he did a lot of money. He did a lot of stuff from people sending in the guitars, but I got to tell you, people just tried to really undercut his prices, and I don't know, they wouldn't pay him. Really sucks. Some guitar players are just jerks that way. Somebody who's going to work on your guitar and spend the real time to do it well, that's worth paying that person decently. So, I mean, he knows the difference between, a millimeter. The way he puts it, he says, now he does construction, he said, I used to do guitars and people would bitch about the thing being a millimeter off because they can tell, but now I do something, I'm a centimeter off and nobody cares. So, all right. Beck's Bolero. Yeah, that's a good one. Who wrote Beck's Bolero? I don't think it was Beck, Studio Deluxe. Do you remember? Oh. Mike Bloomfield. Not really too much into Mike Bloomfield. Mr. Thomas V, can you suggest one or two? Jimmy Page wrote it. Thanks, Jim. I thought that it was not Beck. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So, Mr. Thomas V, could you suggest some Bloomfield for me? I don't really know Bloomfield. Ravel. What can I play by Ravel? All right, that was terrible. I was trying to play his Bolero. Yeah, that's the one that I remember the most. Wasn't it in the movie 10? It was like the thing that they used to talk about. It was in that stupid movie 10. Tiptoe through the tulips. Oh, you guys. Oh, hey, I have to tell you, not that I need it, but believe it or not, I won a guitar. So I'm looking forward to getting it in the mail. It would have been good to win an amp. But I was looking at, does anybody out there have any Harley Bentons? Yeah, we'll do the Dickies to Melissa. Oh, that one's so good. It's so hard to do that one, though. I don't know. I guess I could do that one, Melissa. It's worth doing, right? Yeah, it's worth doing. Dickie's Guitar and Melissa is just so beautiful. I just love that song. That's one of my top songs. That might be my wife's favorite. Actually, she likes Late for the Sky a lot. She was the one who suggested that one, so I could not turn her down. So she has good taste in music. Any single coil guitars I like? Yeah, I like Tellys a lot. I have a Reverend Buckshot that's a single coil guitar. I like a lot. And I really like my C.P. Thornton Strat. That one's awesome. It's a great guitar. That has Lollar pickups, Ed. And I'll tell you, those Lollar pickups has what they call a, it's called a hot, dirty blonde setup, which is kind of ridiculous. But in the neck position, it's what they call their blackface pickup. In the center, it's a regular blonde pickup, what they call blonde face pickup. And then in the bridge position, it's the hot version of the blonde pickup. And I just love those. I love those pickups, and the guitar plays really well. So for me, the very first thing is if the guitar doesn't play well, it doesn't matter how it sounds. So it's got to be able to play well, otherwise I can't do anything with it. And yeah. So that's the main problem with the Strat that I have, is that it just doesn't play. The neck is not good. Johnny Highland. Oh, yeah. Johnny Highland, 2020 Vision. Johnny Highland's incredible. He's great. But you know what? Not to shade on Johnny Highland, because he certainly is great. But listen to just about any country player, and they beat most rock players in terms of just what they can play and how clean they can play. And that's okay. I mean, they're just different players, right? But, listen to Johnny Highland. Listen to the guys even, 40 years ago. Listen to Jerry Reed. Listen to Roy Clark. Listen to Glenn Campbell. I mean, those guys could pull out the stops like there's no tomorrow. It's incredible. And listen to Brent Mason. The guys, how about Brad Paisley? He's a monster. They're incredible players. Great players. Albert Lee. See, the list goes on with country guys. They're all really good. They have to play clean. Vince Gill. They have to play clean. So if they're muffing things up a lot, distortion covers a lot of sins, I think. But yeah, Johnny Highland, one of the best. Let's see, P90s. Yeah, I have. Somebody else. It was Ed, I think, who asked me about my single coils. I have a Gibson Melody Maker. I love the single coil in that one. It's an awesome pickup. It's a Seymour Duncan quarter pounder, and that thing is one of my favorite guitars. I love that guitar. Love it. Spark looked interesting. Let's see, P90s. What about Fountain of Sorrow? Oh, Fountain of Sorrow is... and I have a couple of P90s. Actually, the only P90s I have are on my Reverend the Gretschy sort of guitar. So somebody asked about Fountain of Sorrow. I'm supposed to know that one, but I can't remember it offhand. Who did that one? ZZ Top early. Yeah, I just did a ZZ Top one. Arrested for driving while blind. I like early ZZ Top a lot. Yeah, late Roy Clark. Dude was incredible. Yep. Who's the guy? Pete Anderson with Dwight Yoakam. He was a good player. Robbie Love says Danny Gatton. I don't even know what to call Danny Gatton. He just doesn't count. He's not even... Was he even human what he did? He was an unbelievable player. Unbelievable. Keith Urban. Yeah, Keith Urban's a great player. He's not as technical, but man, he can play. He definitely has great feeling in how he plays, and he's reasonably technical for sure. Listen to his solo at the end of Stupid Boy. It's really good. I did a lesson on that one. It's really, really good. It's fun. Yeah. Roy Clark really was funny. I agree. He was quite funny. Jackson Browne. Oh, Fountain of Sorrow. Oh, yeah, of course, Mark. Jackson Browne, Fountain of Sorrow. Thank you. I don't know how I couldn't remember that one. That's a lovely tune. That's lovely. Yeah, there's something... I saw Jackson Browne a couple years ago with my wife, and it was just Jackson Browne and a guitar and another musician. And Jackson played the piano, and then he played guitar. By the way, they must have had 50 guitars on stage. Maybe not that many. Maybe it was only 30. But oh my God, they totally didn't need that many guitars. It was really interesting. It was just the two of them, so it was almost all acoustic music that they were playing. But he played piano, and this other guy played. He played. It wasn't David Lindley, but it was somebody else, and he played lap steel, and he played National Steel, and he played guitar, and they had all different tuned guitars. And Jackson Browne really impressed me. He did a lot of just requests from the audience, and he even had the guts to, like, there were a couple of times, one time where he started a song, he got halfway through, and he forgot the lyrics, and he stopped, and he said, I'm just not feeling this one, and he stopped it. I thought, it's respect for that. He was just doing that kind of stuff off the cuff. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. How about some Roy Buchanan? What is it? My Messiah is going to come or whatever. Oh, Roy Buchanan was so good. I'll write down some Roy Buchanan. Yeah, that one will get maybe 50 views. But it'll be 50 people who love it. You know what? It'll be 50 people who view it will all go, they'll write about how it sucks and it's not authentic. Not only will it not get many views, it'll get a lot of hate. It's always like that when you post some. There's a number of these things. ZZ Top is one of them too. It's like, you don't know what you're doing. Angus Young too. It's kind of interesting. It's all fun. Yeah, a few of us older farts will view. That's right. Sonny Landreth. Oh, is he ever a player? Yeah, I don't know. I kind of take Trucks over Sonny, but they're both so good. It's hard to pick. They're so good. Trucks is just incredible. Hey, Trevor. Good to see you. Demo on Travis Picking. Oh, Travis Picking. Yeah, I could do that one. Steve Howe, The Clap. Yeah, I remember that one. I don't know if I play that one because I'm maybe not that good, but I do a lot of Travis Picking and a lot of picking fingers. So maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do a lesson or two on picking fingers. I don't know. There's a lot of that's out there, and Travis Picking is another one of those things. Agreed. So that's not out of bounds, Peter. That's not out of bounds. That's a good one for the live show because we could just do a couple of picking patterns and so forth. I've had my right hand has been injured several times, so I literally cannot do fingerstyle. I probably could if I got a little more physical therapy. I could do it, but the way I do my right hand is a little bit unorthodox, but it still works. So I could show you some of that too. Anyway, I think it's one of those things is get comfortable with it so you can do some of it. And being able to play with your fingers on the right hand is a big advantage actually, instead of always having to play with the pick. I love the pick, the flat pick for doing solos, and all that. James Gang, okay. Jessica Ann Thomas says Prince was an amazing guitarist. Yes, he was, absolutely. Prince was a great player. Yep, his solo to Purple Rain's incredible, but the solo to actually Prince does perhaps. Although I might have to bite my tongue on this because Peter Frampton's version of Do We Feel is similar in this regard. I think if Frank is still on here, he knows I'm not a fan of the outro solo. I think that very often outro solos are where guitarists get to be really self-indulgent and I'm not a fan of them. But there are some really good ones. Cream's Sitting on Top of the World is a good one. Frampton's Do You Feel Like We Do is an awesome one. And Prince's Let's Go Crazy has perhaps the best outro solo of all. I just love that outro solo, and how he's kind of, pushing on the half cocked wah up and down just a little bit to just kind of squeak out a little bit of extra stuff on that one bend that goes dissonant. Very, very cool. Messiah, come again. Okay. Yeah, Rory was great. I agree. I think I told you I saw Rush years ago. I went to see Rush, and it was probably the one. I won't say it was the worst concert I went to, but it was really a disappointment. And not because they played badly, but they played exactly like on the record. I could have just stayed at home. And but Rory warmed up for him, Rory Gallagher, and he was incredible. So it totally worked it. VJ Min says doing fingerstyle helped my finger injuries heal. That's good to know. So maybe I should do that. Thanks, Gib. Appreciate it. Like that you enjoy the content. So yeah, Frank knows I'm not a fan of the outro solos, but those are some good ones, and he asked me to do one, and unbeknownst to him, he didn't know I didn't like it. But I actually like the one on Sitting on Top of the World, the Cream song. I think Clapton does a great outro solo there, so I didn't mind that one. It's hard though, because they're just letting all the stops out in those. Oh, Peter says Pokey wants to go out. Oh yeah, that's another one. I'm just going to release a couple of these, and so that everybody knows, I'm going to be trying to just put out a few more just videos during this stuff, and during the coronavirus thing, just for either look at it or play it a little bit. And that Blues for Pokey is going to be one. I'll release that this week. I'll give the whole thing. I just gave a short one where I just did, I think, 1 or 2 choruses of blues, sort of a slow blues, and no outtakes. I got a bunch of outtakes from putting the dog in the video, but anyway. But I have a much longer slow blues where I let it build up, so I'll do that one. Frank said he saw Foghat at a fair and walked out. Really? That's unfortunate. Bob Schumann says Jimi Hendrix. Mr. Thomas V says Jack Pearson. So both you guys, Jack Pearson, Jimi Hendrix. I don't know Jack Pearson, but with Jimmy, what is it that you like from Jimmy? Jessica and Thomas. Prince solos use several scales, making smooth scale switches with the lead bridge. I don't know. I believe you, but I don't know how much. I'm guessing Prince didn't think scales at all. I think he just had a great ear. That's my guess. And he probably knew a little bit, but it was mostly his ear guiding him on all that stuff. That's just my guess, because he could go into so many different styles. And I'm not a huge Prince fan, but dude was a genius for sure. Yeah, for sure. Hey, Jeffrey Byron. But Jessica Ann, yeah, absolutely. Prince was a great, great player. And hey, Jessica, what would you like to hear from Prince? What would be something that you'd like to hear from Prince? I'd be happy to do Prince songs. Soul Dressing from Roy Buchanan's Austin City Limits show. Okay, maybe. Oh, yeah, okay, thanks, Robbie. Sorry, for some reason it wasn't ringing the bell. Oh, that's that's the later stuff, okay. Solo album by Mick Taylor and Keith. Talk is cheap. Anything by Mick Taylor is really good. I love Mick Taylor. GLH, BB King, and all the Kings. Yeah. I have to think, I have some stuff. I'm doing these licks series, and that seems to be pretty good. Yeah. Prince did a great job on Why My Guitar Gently Weeps. Everybody says that, and I don't hate it, of course. I think it's great, but for some reason, I just like Frampton's version a lot better. of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and the original one is just so incredible. Prince just doesn't really. Prince's version of While My Guitar Gently Weeps, for some reason, didn't really knock my socks off. I mean, here I am talking about it. He's way better than I ever could be. But I think, it's all a comparison thing. But it was awesome, of course. And the fact that he got up there and played it with all those other people, you gotta respect that. That was so cool. Definitely. And with that Honer, or that, I don't even remember, is it a Honer? Telly, that fake Telly too. Gotta love that. Just gets up there with any guitar, Albert was king of kings, says 2020 Vision. Albert is probably my least favorite of the three kings. I like Albert King a lot. Obviously hugely influential on Stevie Ray. My favorite of the three is Freddie, but you got to give BB props too. They're all great, though. To say one was the worst of the three is saying they're all great anyway. Doesn't really matter. Honer, yeah, Honer Telly. All I could think of was Hofner, so Clapton's was the best. Yeah, I tend to agree, Frank, Ozman 5151, that Clapton, for me, is While My Guitar Gently Weeps is the best version, but I do like those other versions. I like Prince's, and you can tell Frampton really, really loved the song and put love into it. Albert Collins, Iceman. There you go. 2020 Vision says his favorite old guy is Albert Collins. He was awesome. I agree. Yeah. You mean, Jessica says, I never cared about Prince. Passed away, I started listening to his music and discovered his genius. So he discovered it after he died. That's interesting. I think a lot of people did, which is good. That's good that they did. That he's getting, he gets recognized. Of course, he was very popular anyway, but BB bores you. All right, well, I'll let that one slide, Embry. I'll let that one slide. You gotta listen to the early stuff and the late stuff. BB was such a great singer. All three of them were. Freddie's my favorite of the three. Looking at Fred, I mean, you could tell that dude was gonna die young when you see him playing and singing and just putting everything into it. You could just tell he's overweight. Apparently, he didn't eat. He only he would drink Bloody Marys instead of Freddie King. He would drink Bloody Marys instead of eating, and yeah, that's not good for you. But if you see the stuff, there's a version of his on YouTube, Have You Ever Loved a Woman, where he's up there and he looks, I mean, the way he's dressed is hilarious too. And he's just putting everything into it. And, the first thing you think of is, man, this guy's not going to live very much longer. So, I don't know. BB did some amazing stuff. BB stuff that he did in Africa for the show for the Rumble in the Jungle is pretty amazing stuff. Oh, is that right, Peter? I'm sorry. So, which song was Frampton's last? Oh, While My Guitar Gently Weeps. Okay, Frampton's last song in his last show. No kidding. Wow. Steve Cropper. Yeah, you gotta love Steve Cropper. Somebody told me they met Steve Cropper down in, where is he? He must be in Nashville. They just met him at the supermarket and started talking to him, and pretty nice guy. Alvin Lee. Yeah, Frank says, Ozman 5151 says, everyone forgets Alvin Lee. 10 years after guy. Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people forget about Alvin Lee. He could sure play. I don't know. He had that really flashy way of playing. Gary Moore, yeah, Gary Moore. You know what? I haven't done any Gary Moore, and he's probably my favorite blues player. I like him even more than Stevie. I'm not saying he's better. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying any of these guys are better than the other. You know, if I say I don't like that Albert is the least favorite king of my three, it doesn't mean I don't think he's great. Everybody understand that, okay? If I say I don't enjoy Prince, which I do actually, it doesn't mean that Prince isn't great. It means that's not my taste. So, you know, so back off. No, seriously. Gary Moore, really influential, at least in terms of my listening and what I try to play. I can't possibly play like he does, but wow, what a player. Great player. And somebody else mentioned Larry Carlton. Larry Carlton is probably my all-time favorite player in any genre. I just love I just love his note choice, and he's obviously got great chops and great understanding of things. And the other thing about Larry Carlton is he's unafraid to take on things on the guitar that other people would just not do. Have you ever seen him play some of the chords that he does? I mean, it's crazy. Some of his chords are like, he'll play like this, and he'll move between these things really quickly. He's trying to play like a piano type chords, and he can do it. And I'd never even try that. And I think Rick Beato on one of his things asked about that, and Carlton said, "Well, if you just do it enough, you'll start to be able to do it fluently, and that's all it takes is you got to do it." And he said, "Well, something like how long did it take?" He said, "Oh, it only took like a year. You could start playing that." Yeah. So you gotta give somebody credit for like sticking with it for a super long time. All right, let's see. Still got the blues. Kingfish Ingram. Peter Green. Oh yeah, I didn't mention Peter Green. He was awesome too. Yeah, Larry Carlton with the Crusaders was an incredible player. Yeah, Dan, we're gonna have some fun lessons, I think. Joe Bonamassa seems like he tries to be a modern version of Gary Moore. I haven't listened to Joe Bonamassa in a long time. I'm not gonna throw shade on him right now. He's obviously an unreal player in terms of his chops. So I'm gonna have to listen to his newer stuff and see if he's finding his own voice. So I will hold off on any of that stuff, and that's it, because it's been a long time since I listened to him, for sure. Every once in a while I'll click on a video and I'll listen to it and I'll think, this isn't so bad, this is good. I'm enjoying it. 2020 Vision, he corrected Rick Beato. Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I wonder if, I get the impression Larry Carlton's like super laid back, and he wouldn't have corrected Rick Beato if Rick Beato wasn't Rick Beato. I just get that feeling. You know what I mean? I mean, I like watching Rick Beato's stuff. I actually think it's fun. And I've never met him, but a friend of mine here, I live in Ithaca, and he used to teach at Ithaca College. So kind of unofficially, I think. And a friend of mine here who teaches also unofficially at Ithaca College was a peer of Rick's here. And it's interesting. He called Rick the professor, and my friend is from Tennessee and grew up playing bluegrass, and he played with I can't tell you who he played with, but he played with a bunch of, for some reason, he played with a bunch of people on tour who you'd recognize, and that's what he did for years. And he felt Rick was kind of academic, but thought he was a genius for sure. But that's kind of the way that he approaches, and whatever. Anyway, I like his stuff, but you know how he is. He kind of comes out a little bit thick. Somebody said Josie, which is good. Yeah, I like Josie. Josie is good. Albert Lee. Oh, El Rondo. Hey, buddy. Good to see you on. Albert Lee, Squirrels on the Fingerboard. Albert Lee is El Rondo's all-time hero. Hey, what's your favorite of Albert Elise, Embry and El Rondo? Um, um, what's your favorite of his? I just like to see. I'm a fan of Albert Elise too. 2020 Vision says not a fan of Joe. Um, it's interesting there's a Crossroads festival where who's the guy that plays in the Family Band? So and so in the Family Band. He plays pedal steel. He's an incredible player, and it's really cool. I can't remember the name, but he and Joe Bonamassa play together, and it's kind of embarrassing, I think, to Joe Bonamassa because Joe's playing all of his really fast licks and stuff like that, and this guy's not playing fast at all, and it's just like he really stands out in a interesting way. But then again, I mean, Joe Bonamassa, I've heard some good stuff lately. So anyway, I got to give him another shot. Got to give him another try. Geert, hello, Geert. Geert, I wanted to tell you yesterday's brother. Oh, Louis breaking down monkey songs. Okay, Geert, I wanted to tell you I almost released something I think you would have really liked yesterday. I was going to do a "Why Is This Solo Great" on a particular Beatles song, and I had to pull it at the last minute, but it's coming. So I think it's one that you're going to enjoy. Slow Blues in C. Oh, so 2020 Vision, is that something that you should check out my channel. There's an unlisted video that you could see. It's called Blues for Pokey that you might like. 2020. Louis Shelton and the Wrecking Crew. Yeah, that's been making some rounds. I've seen that there's some stuff there. The Wrecking Crew. Yep. Yeah, his time with Emmy Lou. Yeah, Albert was the real deal. Great, great player. Gary Clark Jr. Yeah, he's real deal too. GLH, I agree. Robert Randolph. That's it. Thank you, Embry. Yeah, isn't he good? Isn't he good? See if you can find the video with Robert Randolph and a family band and Joe Bonamassa at Crossroads, and you should be able to find it on YouTube, and you'll see what I mean. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, um, it's easy to say things about somebody like Bonamassa, right? Guy who has incredible natural gifts. He must have an amazing ear because he can copy just about anybody. Obviously, um, Eric Johnson, Beck, Clapton, all those blues players. He can copy them to a T. Gary Moore. Um, the question is, does he? When is he playing like himself? That's the real question. You might ask that about John Mayer too, although I think John Mayer, when he's not playing his Stevie Ray Vaughan or Hendrix act, actually does have his own voice that's there. But anyway, like I said, it's easy to throw shade on somebody like that, and it's probably just envy. I can't play like that guy. But he's making a living in music, and he's making a good living, and I give him credit for it. And he's not doing super pop stuff. He's not selling out. So he's he does what he does. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Robert Randolph is an amazing player. Just great. Tommy Tedesco. Mr. Thomas V says Bruce Springsteen. Hey man, don't diss on Bruce Springsteen. I know you weren't. But Bruce was a better player than people give him credit for. Listen to the album Darkness on the Edge of Town. So if you listen to Darkness on the Edge of Town, it's filled with really great guitar. Candy's Room, Streets of Fire, Promised Land, Prove It All Night, even Darkness on the Edge of Town. He had a vision for what he wanted to do. And sometimes that guitar is just so grating. He has this sound that's just like, it bites. A lot of people don't like it. Thank 2020 vision. Thank you. Appreciate that. That's really nice. You to say. Jessica Ann Thomas says, I just discovered Steve Hackett of Genesis. Yeah, Steve Hackett was a good player. I think if you like early Genesis, Steve Hackett was the guy who was the vision behind all that music. I mean, he and Gabriel obviously had a way of singing, and I think everybody put their 2 cents into it. But Hackett, I think, was the visionary of that group and created that sound. And yeah. And he also did the tapping, although he tapped with his pick earlier than anybody. He would do the tapping with his pick. Let me see if I can do it. So he would do the... He wouldn't do the finger tap, but he would do a pick tap. And he did that before anybody else I know. So he did that. And he also uses those, nowadays he's been into that sort of the pickups that go forever. I think it's not an EBO, but something like that. Yeah. I agree. I think Bruce was a pretty darn good guitar player. I heard him interviewed once, and he said, he was trying to get a thing that he did that nobody else did. And he said, I was a pretty good... Oh, yeah, Peter, you're right. Adam raised a Cain. Good stuff, right? And he said, well, I was an okay singer, but, I didn't have great pipes or anything like that. And I could play guitar. I could pull something off. But, I listened to this Jimi Hendrix cat, and he could just do... I could never do what he did. I could never be a visionary and really get people to understand what I was doing in the same way to stand out. So I had to stand out in some way, and he said that the way that he decided to do it was to create drive in his songs. And boy, does he ever do that. So, yeah. Uh-huh. Let's see, Bowhead31. Hey, Bowhead. Even though a rhythm player, I was always a Pete Townsend fan. I am a huge Pete Townsend fan, I will have you know. Sustainer, thank you, Studio Deluxe. Sustainer, Fernandez Sustainer, and Embry. I'm a huge fan of Pete Townsend, and in fact, if you listen to Quadrophenia, you will find a lot of amazing guitar work on that. It's not just Keith and John Entwistle, who are great musicians. Pete was right up there with the sound, and obviously his compositions were really good. Quadrophenia is just an amazing album. His playing on Who Are You is very good too. He knew what he was doing. He has his own style, and his rhythm is incredible, I should say. Warren Haynes, another guy, GLH. Yeah, I like Warren. Good player. Mr. Thomas V says skunk. Yeah. Peter Ragno says there were a lot of great players on the Jersey Shore in those days, and so Bruce concentrated on writing great songs. Yeah, I think so, but like if you think of, it's not just what he writes, it's not just the song composition, it's the arrangements. I mean, think of Thunder Road. Thunder Road is not a complicated song, but the way that it builds is not normal, right? And even if you think of Rosalita, right? Rosalita is not really a complex song, but the way that all the parts fit together and the way that it just keeps building and then releasing a little bit and building a little bit more and releasing, the payoff on those songs is just so good. So good. All right. Is that right, Garrett? Whole concert standing in front of Pete. Oh, I'm so jealous. Nancy Wilson says Carmela Marsh. Thank you for that, Carmela. We don't talk enough about women guitarists, and we probably should. So why don't we'll do a live show on that, maybe, on some women who play guitar. The thing is that it's always there is sort of it seems like the women who get the press as great guitarists are always the metal players, right? And I'm not into metal at all. Not at all. So we have to think of sort of rock. Obviously, there's Bonnie Raitt, Nancy Wilson's there. Les Dudek. I don't know that guy. Is that right, Peter? He wrote a lot of stuff on piano. Bruce, that is. I didn't know that. Evan Smith, who inspired me to start playing. Yeah, this is good. No, it's all right. Hey, Evan, it's good to see you. I'm getting a lot of people on today who I haven't had on, and I really appreciate it. So it's great if you can. You know what? I'm going to ask everybody who's on, if you leave some of these comments if you leave some of these suggestions in the comments to this video, I will see them, and that'll help me, as opposed to in the live chat. You can leave them in the live chat, of course, but if I'm ask you for a special favor and just leave them in the comments, and then I will make sure that I have them. I write them down. I'm not always there. Let's see. So people talking about that. Susan T. So who's Susan T? Jeff McManus? Embry Smith says they played Pokey Pokey with one of the Wilson sisters in '76, but I'm not talking. Oh my goodness. How can you say that and then you're not going to tell us the story? Oh my goodness. Yes, 2020 Vision, Bruce's piano guy, Roy Bitton. Yeah, great. Oh, but Evan asked about how did I get started. I think that was it. So Samantha Fish, thank you, Geert. Drutgat, I agree. Evan Smith, who inspired me to start playing? Okay, so Samantha Fish is good. And Steve Howe, yes. Jennifer Batten. So I'll just kind of look at this. Joni Mitchell, one of my favorite. She is a genius at melody. And her guitar is really good, too. Susan Tedeschi. That's right. Derek Truck's wife. Yep. Okay, Eva Cassidy. Awesome. Thank you. All right, so Evan, I'm gonna try and tell you. So who inspired me to start talking or start playing guitar? You're gonna hate the answer. So it's my mother. How do you like that? So it's my mother and my cousin, who is probably my best friend in life. He just turned 63, and I love him. And he's the guy who sold me that Strat that I can't play anymore, that I'm gonna have to do something about. But he's been my best friend my whole life. He was the best man at my wedding, and I grew up with him. Anyway, he was a guitar player, and my mom said, you have to play an instrument. I was 8 years old, and she said, we know of a guitar teacher and a piano teacher. What do you want to do? And I said, I'll play guitar. So the answer is my mother and my cousin Dave. Those were the two who really inspired me. But then when that was just to play, and I played through the Mel Bay books just to give you an idea of that stuff, right? So I learned the Mel Bay stuff. Then I put it away for like 3 years, and when I started playing again was probably like 8th grade or so, and it was really Townsend. I was a huge Who freak back then, and I loved Pete Townsend's play. So it was Townsend mostly, and then later Page. I got into Townsend and Page first. So those were the three. I wasn't inspired to start by Hendrix, who is probably my favorite player now, but I wasn't inspired to play by Hendrix. It was first Townsend, then Page. And then after that, the next wave in was Larry Carlton and Steve Howe. Once I really started going, that's what it became. Larry Carlton and Steve Howe. So not necessarily in that order, but kind of at the same time. But at that time, I was really I had times where I was really into Santana. I had times when I was really into Robin Ford. I had times when I was really into Neil Schon. I had times when I was really into Peter Frampton. I had times when I was really into Van Halen, though I could never really play that stuff. I never had a whammy bar, so here's a confession, by the way, to everybody that's on here. I hate tuning my guitar down. That's the one thing that drives me crazy about SRV and Hendrix. I don't like tuning an E flat, so I couldn't play on the record if they're using open stuff. So for what it's worth, I don't know. I have an aversion to it for some reason, and yeah. So maybe that was part of it. But I like that. I like Keith a lot too. I was inspired a lot by the Stones and Mick Taylor and Keith. That era from Let It Bleed to like Exile on Main a little bit afterward, after Brian Jones. So yeah, I love Pete Townsend though. I mean, great stuff. And then even for a short while, I was really inspired by Wes Montgomery. I cannot play like he does at all, but I listened to him a lot. I listened to him almost exclusively for about maybe half a year. Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool, Evan. That's great. Oh, Bo had 31. Ted Nugent. Yeah. So, so I had a friend who I played with in a band who, I grew up in Detroit. He's one of the few people that I jammed with for a short period of time. He got up on stage. I was playing at a friend's high school graduation, and he came to the graduation because he was a friend of his father or something like that. He came up and he said, "Man, that was cool, man." He came up and we jammed a little bit. He was good. He was good. Anyway, this a different friend when I was in a band in eighth grade, I think. He came in and I thought he was just amazing. This friend of mine because he could play this Ted Nugent stuff, Stranglehold, Great White Buffalo, and on our first battle of the bands, we did Hibernation. We did Ted Nugent's Hibernation, which is a 10-minute long instrumental. Not a good choice if you want to win, but it was really good. So, anyway, all right, that's pretty funny. Conan's guy. I don't know Conan's guy. Who was the guy that played with Jay Leno? Kevin Eubanks. Kevin Eubanks, right? Kevin Eubanks. He's from Detroit, I think. He was originally from Detroit. And I remember once in Kevin Eubanks, I walked into a store, Huber and Breeze, and I had just been a little bit, I'd been getting into jazz. I must have been like 20 years old or maybe 19 or 20. And he was a hot jazz player at that time. And I heard somebody playing. I didn't recognize him, right? I had never seen him before. But I heard some songs of his, and here was this guy playing this Kevin Eubanks lick in the back of the store. And I walked up to him and I said something like, "Hey man, playing that Kevin Eubanks stuff. Pretty cool." And he looked at me and glared at me, and he was so pissed off. And I later found out it's Kevin Eubanks. So anyway, he was pissed off that I didn't know him. Anyway, I think he grew up after that. Not that that was an instant that helped him grow up, but I think he grew up later than that. It seemed like he got along with people on a Jay Leno. All right. Yeah, Pete Thorne. Yeah, Pete Thorne's really good. He's G.E. Smith. Yeah, I saw G.E. Smith a couple times. I saw him once play with Dylan, with Bob Dylan. I saw Dylan in concert, and G.E. Smith was his guitar player. Let's see. James Burton, GLH, going for all the old classics, for sure. Yeah, he's awesome. Doug J says, Jeff Lynne, ELO, what a singer-songwriter. Oh my God, Doug, I'm a huge sap for ELO, and he's probably a better guitar player also than everybody knows. But Jeff Lynne was probably my favorite singer. I was just having a discussion with somebody about the album Out of the Blue, and how if that would have been a single album and they cut all the garbage out of it, it would have been one of the best albums of all time. But it had too many losers on it. But that side 3 is so great, and the side 4 has Sweet as a Night. Oh, great singing on that, and then Wild West Hero, of course. Great singing on that. Glenn Campbell. Yeah. Ravensmead says, do I set up my own guitars? So the answer, Ravensmead, is yes. For the most part, I set up my own guitars. I do. I will set up my own guitars unless I'm really, really nervous about the truss rod because it takes too much turning. I only do like a quarter to a half turn at once. If it has to go around like 100 times, I'm not going to do it. 2020 Vision says, who's Kevin Eubanks? He was the house band guitarist for and leader of the band for Jay Leno. Jazz player. But that goes to show you, 2020 Vision, asking who is so-and-so, it's because he's a jazz player. Nobody knows any jazz players. I mean, yeah, Charlie Christian, yeah, Django, yeah, Wes Montgomery, maybe George Benson, maybe a few people, Pat Martino, maybe a few people, Pat Metheny. Mike Bloomfield, yeah, he was mentioned before. Good player. George, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mike Campbell. Oh, he was good. Soup Campbell. Hey, we've been at it for an hour and 30 minutes. I gotta get some time in for like walking a little bit. But so I'm gonna say adieu. We'll see you guys in yeah. Yeah, it's great, Geert. If you take your time and turn the truss rod, turn it a quarter turn at a time, no more than that, then it's going to work. Emily Remler was a fantastic player, Mark Siebes. I agree. Too bad she had the habit that so many jazz players have and died young. Bowhead says, if I were ever stranded on an island, Strat or Les Paul, Bowhead 31, you don't know me, do you? Les Paul all day. Les Paul all day. All right. But I'm getting to like Strats a little bit more. I'm getting to like him a little bit more. All right. Yes. All right, gang. So I'm going to take off. Thanks a lot for coming on. Hope you enjoyed the Frampton discussion and the Frampton play. I enjoyed the discussion a lot. It's always good. Please leave your comments below for the suggestions on what to do. Again, to remind you, there's the you can enroll in the Rock Guitar 1970s course that Phil Roberts and I did. We're going to do more, so you can also put suggestions for what you'd like to see in the future, either for similar sorts of courses. We're going to do a whole series probably of 70s rock guitar, but maybe we'll do some other things as well, or maybe I'll do some other things on my own. We'll see. But a lot of extra work. It's a lot more than what are in the YouTube videos. So, so check it out. That's it. All right. So we'll see everybody. I'm not going to say hi, say goodbye to everybody, but I really do appreciate everybody who came on today. Thank you so much, and we will see you on down the road. Hi, James. Hi, Edmund, and all the rest. Mark Siebes, Totenseeker, Embry, great to see you. Rondo, so glad you could make it. So glad you could make it. Geert, ML, Evan Smith, thanks. A lot of people who came on for the first time. Peter, Nemo Unknown, great stuff. And Doug J, thank you. And we will see you. All right, take care, and we'll see you on down the road.